Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over a noob's guide to the WorthIt recorder. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so like with our last video, we went over the configuration of WorthIt. Now you should have yours already configured and set up to your corresponding preference. Now that being the case, the next thing of note that you're going to be wanting to do is by understanding the WorthIt recorder. Obviously we have in WorthIt a load of preset farms that you can do, but if you actually go into your dashboard once again and go down through the drop down menu into My Farms. Now My Farms is a total thing of something you can actually do when you're actually farming. Now jumping into My Farms is your own custom farms that you can actually do. Now for obvious reasons, I have loads of these already set up, which actually tells me the gold per hour for different types of farms that I've actually previously done, and it will keep updating them and tell me what is the gold per hour. So at this moment in time, Harden Springs 2x4 farm is worth 40,000 gold on my server, and it is at a sell rate of 0.33. That's pretty damn awesome overall. Now the next thing of note that you're going to be wanting to do is actually pressing the big ass button called the recorder. This will actually bring up a recorder for you for when you're actually doing your farming, such as like with Loot Appraiser. All you have to do is hold shift to reset, and it will actually take into account where you actually are. Obviously I am in Dalaran, and it's actually taken the location of Dalaran into account already. All you have to do is press start when you're actually doing your farm, and then once you've completed your hour's farm, you press pause. At the end of that, if it's a reset instance farm, you can have a button hit on the actual recorder which resets all the instances, so you can run in and then actually finish that up. Aside from that, what you can actually do now is go into the editor. So we're actually going to bring up an old farm quickly, which we can actually go into My Farms and press edit. So say I wanted to go into a farm of like the dredge leather farm, I can edit that immediately, bring it up into the recorder, and just say we've finished this actual farm. We've just finished an hour's farm, and then we just go into the editor, which is a tab next to the recorder. This will actually bring up everything you've actually farmed up for this entirety of this farm. So if I want to actually remove something, there's a little red X next to the item, and all I have to do is hold shift and press remove on that particular item for that hour's farm. Now overall there are things that are taken into consideration, like raw gold. This is something that will actually be covered in a later video for raw gold farming, but it's not really overall that complex. This will actually take into account all of the raw gold that you've actually gotten hold of, and you can edit it as well if you really wanted to. So if it wasn't just quite right, if you started from your bags from zero, you can just go in and then type in whatever's in your bags, and then you can keep that in there as well. Now moving along with this, you can actually name this if you really wanted to, and name this whatever you want. So this one is the Dredge Leather Farm. I can edit it and just say Dredge Leather and just put a smiley face if I really wanted to, and just press OK. This actually selects this and says, right, this is going to be the name of the actual farm, and then you can then choose that to actually be the duration. Now the duration will already be preset, so if you've gone over your hours farm but you know you've farmed for an hour, all you have to do is reset that and just select. So if it was 61, you just change it to 60 and then just press OK. Now for location, we are just going to go over to set current. So I could actually go from, if we started the actual recorder, we actually hold shift and we were in a capital city before we went and did our farm to set it up. We could actually just, at the end of our farm, we could just press set current and it will set it to the current location you are in. So for me, it would be Dalaran. Now the next thing of note is this lovely blue box that actually shows up over here. Now this actually will add things into your editor, and that means it will add it into this list over here, and you can add things in. We will get into that in a minute. Now aside from that, anything underneath the add item part is everything you've farmed up. So if you have a load of grey items or green items that you've got to actually move out from your configuration, then then you can do that by holding shift and removing that item. You can also change how many you actually got for the hour if you really wanted to, and also the raw gold that I alluded to earlier. Another feature that you can use for this is item. Now, item is something that you can do, and we'll get into that in a minute. And basically all you do is you pick up the item and you just click, and it will actually use the item, the actual item's ID, instead of actually doing your own name for it, for that farm. Now you can also use a current location for that as well, if you really wanted to also. Now, aside from that, if we actually move over from the editor, don't forget to hit save when you're actually done finishing editing your actual farm in My Farms. You can go over to root, and this is basically an idea. With Callan's add-on for importing and exporting roots, you can actually go into the roots add-on, and you could then go in here, and then you could go into Najatar, and you could actually grab the actual serialized code for that and just copy that. We're just going to use this as an example. Copy the export for roots and then close down roots and just paste that in, and then import a root into this. That means it will show up in My Farms. The last thing of note, once you've actually done this, is go back into the editor and just hit save once again to make sure that the root's there. So the next part that you need to do is go into import/export root, and that is to export or import a farm. So if you wanted to export a farm, it will already show it in here. So if you already have a farm already selected from editing My Farms, you can then go into your import and export and just press export, and it will export the farm that you already are editing, and then that means you can share that with other people. Now, along with this, if you really wanted to as well, it will come up blank. So if you wanted to import a farm, you could then grab someone else's, paste that in, and just press import, and it will open it up directly into the editor, and then you can just hit save, and that will be saved to your actual thing. Which means then when you go up to My Farms in here, you can actually look down, and we can see that we've actually set it to Dalaran now, the name for the actual farm. And if we wanted to change it back, we can then go into the editor and just go to text, and we can actually set this back to dredged leather and just hit save once again, which means when we actually go back into this in My Farms, it will actually say dredged leather, and then it will actually show the root, which you can then, obviously if you wanted to, you can actually delete that from the roots add-on until such a time you want to use it. WorthIt will keep a hold of the root for you, and then when you want to press import, you can then just press import, then import your own roots that you had otherwise. That feature is mainly so when roots gets a bit too cluttered with so many farms, WorthIt will hold on to them for you, so then you can actually import them from My Farms if you really so wished. And also when you actually export, it will actually export the root as well for you. So now if I actually went to export and I exported this farm, it will actually export the root as well, and then that means I don't actually have to do two different exports. I can just do one export, and that just does it for you. Now, aside from all of this, we're just going to start off with a clean slate, because we're going to go over another thing that you can do with the recorder. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our recorder. We've just set it to 0. We're going to go into our editor, and we're actually going to name it an item. We're going to call it Shalderai Silk. And what we're actually going to do, it takes the item actual icon on here. It says Shalderai Silk in a big icon right there. And all you have to do now is just set your duration. So we're just going to say 60 minutes, and then we're going to add things into this. So for instance, say we farmed up 130 Shalderai Silk and runic cat and 10 runic catgut. This is so we can then go over and say, right, we've got this Shalderai Silk and we've got the runic catgut. Let's go into our TSM and actually just craft some bracers. So we're just going to quickly craft 10 bracers for that, and then we're just going to disenchant them. This is what I like to do for anything. This is what I prefer to do when I do a mining thing, such as like the Silithus farm, and then use my alchemist in order to change that into arcanite bars. So we can then disenchant all of these items, and then we can actually add these in. So let's just disenchant all of these bracers, and we can actually go through what we're actually going to be doing, because I want to give you guys a base concept on how to actually edit this in order to actually do something along the same lines. So say you wanted to do something of that, and we actually got some lovely blood of Sargeras right there. That's actually kind of helpful, because I'm going to need some on this character soon. And all we've got now is we've got 10 ley light shards. You just pick up the item, such as with this, you just press that and it will pop up in the bottom thing. Then all you have to do is set how many you actually got for the hour after crafting with it, and then press save. This will then give you a gold per hour on the actual farm in my farms, and if you go down to Shalderai Silk, it'll actually show you the tag. So instead of actually naming it, you can actually name it with the item that you actually farmed up. So we know that Shalderai Silk is there. If we open it up, it will tell you what was the loot that we actually got, which was ley light shards. And then it says that it is now 258 gold if we actually got that Shalderai Silk and we went and turned that into ley light shards. So that's something else you can do within the WorthIt recorder. This is something I like to do, especially with the Silithus farm. So say the Silithus farm mining / alchemy, which is my one, and that is when I farmed up the thorium ore for about an hour, and then I crafted all of the arcane crystals that I got from that, and a few thorium bars in order to make my arcanite bars. And then I removed the arcane crystals and the necessary thorium bars, and then added in the arcanite bars that I got along with this, giving me how much I can actually make if I actually mined up a load of ore and then turned them into arcanite bars and then sold those on the auction house. So at this moment in time, if I did a mining / alchemy farm, so I farmed up with my mining and then transmuted those into arcanite bars, I'd make about 16,000 gold per hour, and the sell rate is at 0.13, and that is the Silithus farm. Obviously we can add roots in as well, so that is something else you can do with using the WorthIt recorder. Coming in last and finally is going back into our lovely configuration for the WorthIt recorder, and it's a very bog standard actual thing. All you have to do is just say items that are BRP below min quality or below min value will not be added to the loot list, but the vendor value will be added directly to the raw gold. That is basically what it says on the tin. This is how we actually use the WorthIt recorder for a setup. We say the minimum item value, so say with the bag value, minimum item value, and we could set that to 0 if we so wished. It comes already preset at 10, and we can then select the minimum quality of the items. So if I set this to uncommon and then actually went along with that, that means it won't actually, when we're recording our farm, it won't even bother picking up the white items and the grey items. It will only record the uncommon items or higher in quality when you're actually doing a farm. So if you're doing a transmog farm, you could then do something along with that. Same as if you did it with common, you can then the recorder will only pick up anything that is common or higher and leave out all of the grey items for when you're recording. This is also helpful for when you're editing, because it's already excluded the grey items that you got from your farm, and then you don't have to manually go through and remove them. You can just subsequently just make sure that the recorder does not do that. So you set your minimum value and your minimum quality, and that's all you have to use for the configuration of your recorder. With that being the case, that is an introduction to my farms. Any other questions, please message me on the Discord or message one of our guides. They are very, very helpful, those guys, and they actually help quite a great deal on the Discord. Aside from that, guys, have a lovely rest of the day, and I shall see you on the next video, which will be tomorrow.